Welcome to the next part of our Walking Dead series. We're commentating on the Walking Dead, and we're just going through some of the big philosophical, sometimes religious or spiritual questions as well that are raised by the Walking Dead. And we're just going to go through that and hope that we can explore ourselves a little bit, which is interesting. This is Series 1, Episode 4 of our series, and we are looking today at the question of who am I? Certainly, who am I without my job role? As the world came crumbling down and as society changed. In fact, society almost disappeared, didn't it, in the series? And because, there is no society, there is no citizenship. We're all just a bunch of people in one place. Because when society crashes like that, there is no more passports, there's no more nothing, right? It doesn't really matter who you are, where you come from. So who am I in the midst of all of that? Who am I? And we see people, don't we? We see them starting to struggle with that and start to assert different identities into the series. As it happens, I think the thing that makes a good program, the thing that makes a good series, is often the characters. Sorry, I got a bit of a cold. The characters. The best shows have the best characters, right? We attach ourselves to characters, don't we? I'm wondering who your favourite character is. I think my family, certainly Sophie and Liam, and probably Laura as well, would all quite like Glenn. Glenn, for the first part of the first series is, and probably all the way through the first series, is sort of like thinking, who am I? And he doesn't seem to have like this character necessarily. He doesn't seem to have a role. He doesn't seem to have a character. He doesn't seem to have an identity almost. And as we go into the second series, we meet a lady called Maggie, who is his girlfriend and all that sort of stuff. And what we see, by the way, sorry, spoilers. If I should have said spoiler alert before I said all of that. If you haven't started watching all of that sort of stuff yet, but one of the things that we see. And one of the things, loads of spoilers here, by the way. Don't watch this if you haven't already watched the program. But one of the things that we see is that Maggie turns around to Glenn and she sort of calls out the identity of what he's accidentally fallen into, which is almost like the risk taker, the go-getterer. And it's something that he hasn't deliberately fallen into, but he's just trying to help everyone. He probably feels like I'm the helper, but she feels like he's the doormat. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes we can fall into that in life, can't we? Like maybe you've been around a little while, and maybe you'd like to think of yourself as someone who helps people out and tries hard to be accommodating to people. But there is like this difference, isn't there, between being accommodating and being a doormat. And Maggie sort of turns around and says, Glenn, I think that actually you're not being accommodating, you're not being helpful. Instead, these guys are treating you like a doormat, because she obviously cares about Glenn. We see loads of other characters as well, don't we? Like Rick and Shane. Sort of, they start. It's almost like a battle for authority, almost like who's the leader. Is that my identity? And I think this is it, isn't it? Like we sort of, here in the Western world, we find our identity in what we do. Maybe it's the same in other parts of the world as well. Maybe all around the world, people find their identity in what they do. Utilitarian, is that what they call it? When you belong to a society that pretty much says you are what you do. You're only as valuable as what you do. It's a pretty sad state of affairs, really, isn't it? Because someone who can't do an awful lot suddenly loses their value, whereas someone who can do lots of things, or certainly in our nice capitalist culture that we live in, our capitalist society, someone who has lots of capital has more value than someone who has none. Obviously, in The Walking Dead, there isn't really any capital. Although I guess you could say food is sort of capital, isn't it? Food and water, and guns and ammo is capital in The Walking Dead. You know, but it begs a question, doesn't it? When we're asking the question, "Who am I?" Now that I don't have a job role. And what is my worth? You know, what is my worth? Because you see, like, even the youngest of people, the youngest of characters in the series, Carl, I think his name is, Carl Grimes, the young lad who is the son of the leader, Rick. Or one of the leaders, Rick. Carl is sort of there going as well. I want to be of value to our community. I want to be of value to our culture. I want to be of value to this group. And he starts trying to learn how to shoot a gun and stuff, doesn't he? And starts trying to learn how to be a leader like his dad. And we see him getting some stuff wrong, and we see him making some mistakes, and we see lots of other stuff. But even from the very youngest age, whether you're male, female, young, old, whatever your race, whatever your nationality, we're all asking the same question: who am I, and what is my value? I'd like to suggest that that our value isn't based on what we do or how much ammo we have or capital. Maybe that's a question for us. Is that all my life is? Because how about the person who has no capital? How about the person who doesn't have a job? Do they still have value? Because it seems to me that eventually, and like I say, spoiler alert in case you haven't already watched it, there are people that come along who seemingly don't seem to have a value. People like really young children, babies. A baby doesn't really add to the culture, you know? The baby doesn't really add to the what can be done in the camp. Instead, it will take away. So does that mean the baby has no value? Because that's certainly not the way that we behave, is it? It's certainly not the way that we behave in life, and it's certainly not the way that they behave in the show. The baby has lots of value, actually. In fact, they might even say that the baby has more value than some of the adults, you know, which is interesting, isn't it? Because that baby's values or value isn't based on what it can do, or what it can add, or how much capital it has. It almost seems like the baby has a different type of capital. Oof. What sort of capital does that baby have? It has love, I guess, as its capital. It has weakness. Maybe it has. These are all the opposite, aren't it? I feel like when I first saw the show, and as I thought about it, that little baby has hope as its capital. I remember thinking, I wonder, and by the way, I've only watched up to series 2, so this is still quite premature, and I'm sorry if this is some sort of spoiler for the future. This is just where my head's going at. We only watch it when we're all in the same house at the same time, my family and extended family. We all have to be there at exactly the same time, so we're going through it quite slowly. And then all of a sudden they started watching Squid Games. You know, maybe I need to do a series on that as well at some point. I'm not sure how that would go, but anyway. So I'm going through it quite slowly, but I almost feel like that little baby, for me, when the baby was born, represented hope. Because what if hope, there's a hope in that baby that means that baby might be immune to the disease. You know, that baby might not have something in its body to get us past this. Or maybe if we carry on having children Will all children after this generation not be subject to this disease, And that was sort of my thinking. That was sort of what I felt. The baby had a different capital, and the capital was hope. I'm wondering today, as we come up to 10 minutes, are you lacking in capital? Are you lacking in value? What is your value? Who am I without my job role? I'd like to suggest that certainly to God, you have immense value. If you'd like to know some more, then there's another video, and we've got loads of videos online. Just click on one of the ones like about Jesus, and I'm sure you'll find out a lot more. In the meantime, though, I look forward to the next session where we'll talk some more about The Walking Dead. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.